Well done.
Thanks.
That's such good information. It's so well delivered. I love that. I love it. So good.
Well, it's easy when you're passionate about it. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, that became obvious like 2 minutes in. I was like, oh, this guy's into this.
I like coffee.
Yeah. Howdy, folks. Brian Kusko here at Redline Report, and today we're going to sit down with Trey of Cold Blooded Caffeine. Such a cool idea to have like a reptile coffee company. One of my favorite things in the reptile industry is watching people take ideas and whatever they are or whatever they're passionate about and bring it and make it part of the reptile hobby or industry, whether it's art, whether it's caging, whether it's coffee. So we're going to talk to Trey about how that happened. And there's actually some really cool information about like how reptiles and amphibians tie directly into coffee. So we're going to hear about that. So you're watching Redline Report. We're snapping again, baby. I think I need to upgrade my equipment.
I'm sure travel like this setup is not an easy thing. I mean, it's kind of probably like the coffee. Like you're all making it up on the spot. Like you're piecing together equipment, trying to make the best situation that you can to make it portable and effective, right? So
yeah.
I'm sure there's not like a trade show interview starter pack that you can order off of Amazon.
I know you can't order it off Amazon. I remember the first time coming here to try and do it. I did it first time in Pomona, but then the first time I did it here, I just had like a hockey bag with tripods and a little light stand. I rolled around to different vendors' tables and just set up lights and camera tripods at their
every
booth.
time. Like
every time.
Oh my gosh!
Break it down, roll to the next vendor that I was trying to do.
This is certainly a significant improvement, right?
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement
awesome.
for that, for sure. But there, like you said, there's no starter pack.
Yeah, do what you can do. Same thing with us.
And there's probably a way to do it lighter and more portable.
Yeah.
But I like rolled through the airport yesterday with about 270 pounds of equipment. Just like this, rolling.
Just you own it, right? At that point, it's like, what is he bringing? I saw you come in. Are you bringing like I don't know, heavy machinery or?
So it's the stand. So here's a special case because even these, like I'm bringing the stands that are holding these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just because it's because I'm so particular. If I wasn't particular, it would be much lighter.
Just grab some drapes from
even just like this steel light stand here is like that's some weight in itself.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm insane, and I go back at my computer and I look at it and I'm like, it needs to be lit from this angle at this much.
There was a wrinkle and I see it. And I don't like it.
It's for real.
I mean, I bring a steamer in my bag, not for my clothes, but for tablecloths and stuff. I can't stand it.
It's funny. It's the one thing that I was just like when I was here. I was like, next time I'm bringing a steamer.
Yeah, yeah. I keep one in my hotel bag, in my just laundry bag. So yeah.
How did you decide that like the reptile industry needs coffee?
So it was a gamble. We actually connected reptile conservation and coffee first before we translated into we want to do this for trade shows. So I'd been doing trade shows, local trade shows before. I'd like breeding animals and selling them on tables and stuff. Never doing it at Tinley. I'd come to Tinley or the bigger shows, but never vended. And so I was in the world a little bit, but not to this level. And so I've always been a coffee nut. I've always loved coffee, obsessed over. I was the guy in the break room with the French press in my corporate job making.
And when you said you're in the world, did you mean reptile world? Or
Reptile world.
Okay.
Reptile world. Yeah. So like, I would sell at trade shows and stuff, like the local trade shows. But the idea for the coffee came. My business partner McKendrick and I wanted to do a business. We didn't know what it was. We were looking at all kinds of stuff like drop shipping watches and men's apparel, and we were like, we were in automotive manufacturing before. We worked together in automotive manufacturing. His background is logistics, mine's customer service and account management. And we knew that we worked well together, but we knew that we didn't want to do that forever. And so we were looking for something. And I was in the grocery store one day, and I was looking at all the different options for coffee because I needed I'm a coffee nut. I need my fix. And I was like, okay, well, there's a Brazilian coffee, and there's a Colombian coffee, and there's a Peruvian coffee. And then I was like, man, I've got a Brazilian rainbow boa. I've got a Colombian red tail. I've got all this stuff. That's interesting. And so, I took that back, and I was like, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's a business there that we can do something with coffee. And did a lot of research and actually found some studies where it showed that specialty coffee in particular actually helps increase reptile and amphibian biodiversity within those plantations. And I was like, light bulb, right? Light bulb moment. Okay, there's definitely a positive correlation between specialty coffee, shade grown coffee, organic grown coffee, coffee that is sustainable, and increases in reptile and amphibian biodiversity. Okay, that's perfect. Now what do we do with it, right? Do we set up a coffee shop? Do we set up a roastery? What do we do? And that's kind of the idea where the trade show idea came from. I was like, okay, I had this platform.
Sorry,
Yeah,
this
no, go
is
ahead.
the earliest I've ever done this. So I'm glad we have coffee.
Yeah.
My brain's still processing. You say that coffee production has an effect on reptile and amphibian biodiversity?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so coffee has somewhat of a tumultuous past, right? Like
Yeah.
when you look at the history of coffee and what it's
which
done,
I have.
right? Both from a human impact and from an environmental impact.
Because it mostly
It's-
came out of like the Yemen or Ethiopia area,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that's where it started. So it was discovered in Ethiopia and then spread. So like the ports of Mocha and Jab. So Mocha is in Yemen, and that was like one of the main ports that they were exporting coffee out of way back
at
in
one
the day.
point, like trying to get the plant out of the country was like
It was illegal.
By death.
Yeah. So
Like-
like they were smuggling it out of the country on boats.
That was my understanding. It was like the very first
Yeah.
greenhouse in Europe was built to keep the first coffee plant alive that
Yeah.
got smuggled out.
Yeah. So I mean, and so like once it became commercially viable, of course, what do people do? But they were like, okay, there's money to be made. Let's knock down all these trees, plant a bunch of coffee, and then you're actually having a degradation of those old forests in support of commercialization of coffee. What we're seeing now, there's studies that are showing that actually the reverse is taking place when you look at specialty coffee in particular, not commoditized coffee, not like mass produced, mass sold product, but like specific specialty coffee. So, like I said, shade grown coffees, organically grown coffees. Depending, like organic's a certification, it's not a process, so there can be differences there. Whether it's organic is good for the environment or bad, but regardless, that it's becoming evident based on several studies that if they're leaving some buffer land between like old growth forests and the coffee plantation, like they're leaving like a ring around the coffee plantation, you're actually seeing reptile and amphibian biodiversity come into the coffee plantations, which is really interesting. It's not like coming, okay, I've got big tall forests and then I've got tiny little plants and I'm not going to cross that boundary. No, there's like this easement now where animals are coming in and out of the coffee plantations and they're actually being able to establish populations within that. So very interesting shift, but again, it comes back to the importance of understanding where the coffee's coming from, because that's not all coffee. That is specific coffee, that's specialty coffee, that's coffee that's sourced with a sustainable purpose.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's so cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so that to your point, that's how it kind of got back to reptiles and amphibians, right? We were very intentional about making sure that the product fit that market. We didn't want to do something like, oh yeah, here's some coffee, but it probably killed an endangered species or something to get it to you, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that I'm gonna put our name on it, and I'm gonna put a gecko on a coffee bean as the primary logo. I want to make sure that it's helping that industry or that niche.
So do you guys source from like certain places?
We
or-
do. Yeah, we're very specific as to where we source. So we source from 13 countries, and we do use an importer. We have to because of our size. So anyone that's familiar with the coffee industry will know that coffee, you have to buy it in bulk. You can't like just go and buy.
Get a cup.
Yeah. Let me get 10 pounds of that, right?
Yeah.
You have to buy a lot at a time in order to get wholesale pricing that makes it where you can sell it commercially. And so we have to use an importer because we can't take container loads of coffee. So like coffee sold in containers wholesale, right? And so, a container load of coffee, somebody probably knows the answer, but it's between 300 and 400 bags of coffee. And those bags are 66 kilograms. So 150-pound bags, 400,
Wow.
400 to 150-pound bags, that's a lot of coffee.
That's a lot of coffee.
So we can't take that. So we have to use an importer that takes that and then allows us. But we work very closely. We have 2 importers that we work with that work very closely to make sure that we have direct relationships with those farmers. So like our coffee, I can tell you what farmer grew it, what his kids' names are, what, like
Oh, that's
where
awesome.
he went to high school, all this stuff. Like I can tell you everything about that coffee that went into that cup of coffee. And again, we don't have that direct relationship, but we use an importer that has. Like we were very specific with the importers that we use that have those direct relationships. So I can go to our importer. Actually, it works out nicely that one of the importers that we use is in Charleston, South Carolina, where we're based. So I can go into their office and I can sit down and we can have conversations about where the coffee is sourced, how like what processing methods they were using, what fertilizing methods they were using, how they get their product to the processing facilities, like if they have processing facilities that they use, what is the payment rate to the farmer directly, like how much is the farmer making off of this versus how much is the importer making. Like I can get all that information because we have those close relationships with those importers.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You know what would be cool is like a herping trip to go herp the coffee fields.
I would love that so much. We've been to a couple. We've never went herping specifically. Like we've gone to tour coffee farms in a couple of different countries, but we haven't been able to herp there because of the tour guidelines, right?
Sure.
So like we did a specific coffee tour, but yeah, that'd be something very cool if we can establish some relationships and do that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, go like capture videos, see some of the reptiles and amphibians on the coffee
On the
plants.
coffee
Like,
plants, yeah.
that would be
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool, dude.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. So how has it been going? I mean, you set up here at the front of town. That's a great spot. Right?
Yeah,
And now
yeah.
I've seen you at the North Carolina show set up there.
Yeah.
How many shows do you guys vend coffee at?
We are currently vending all of the NARBC shows, so Tinley, Schaumburg, Dallas, and St. Louis. We did the All-American Plant and Reptile Expo, or Reptile and Plant Expo, which is the one I saw you at in Charlotte. We're looking to expand as Nick and Troy come eastward. We're looking to expand into some of those shows. I already talked to Bob Vu. We're going to do the Southeastern Reptile Expo next year, or whenever he has it next in Atlanta. What is that? 7 or 8, maybe something like that. And then we do our local Charleston show just because it's there.
Yeah.
So I mean, but Tinley Park was actually our debut show in 2022, March 2022. Tinley
Okay.
Park.
Okay. I was looking for. I had a bag of your coffee around here. I'm not sure what happened to it. Maybe it went to. Let me look.
It got confiscated.
Yeah, I mean, it was like.
Well, I mean, we can grab another one if you want to. No.
There's one. Get your logo up there too. Yeah, Nick had walked by. Speaking of All American Reptile Plant Expo, Nick had walked by, showed me that you had
Yeah.
yeah.
We're gonna do one for them. Yeah.
one for them. There's the logo. It's a super
Yeah.
cool logo.
Yeah.
Thing. That's nice.
Yeah.
So how does? I mean, this is cool. This is what I think is really cool. Is like making special blends for different reptile businesses
Yeah.
and stuff. Like that's awesome.
The idea started with trying to get buy-in from the industry, right? We didn't want to just come in and just say, "Oh, we're coffee," because people have their own favorite coffee company, right? There's thousands, if not tens of thousands, of roasters all across the country that do great stuff. And so we wanted to make sure that we were doing something specific for the reptile industry, the industry that we chose and the industry that we love, right? And so we started bringing in affiliates, people that would be recognized as sort of a way to get approval from the industry.
Sure.
And then once we did that, we were able to expand our reach further. So like we started with, like Bob was one of our first affiliates. This is a Vietnamese coffee. I think it makes sense why we did Vietnamese coffee there. It's fun. We try and tie it back to the individual person, where they're from, or if they have specific like animals they keep from specific areas. We try and make sure that that's represented. And then once we had a group of affiliates that gave us some credibility, then we were able to even further our reach. Like we now have the U.S. Arc barrel aged blend, and of course U.S. Arc's specific about who they let represent their brand, and so it was a big deal for us to be allowed to put their brand on our coffee, and do that. So and proceeds from that coffee, specifically all of our like affiliate blended coffee, proceeds from that go back to U.S. Arc. Our branded coffee, if you buy just the Cold Blooded Caffeine logoed coffee, the proceeds for that go back to 5% of the proceeds go to Rainforest Alliance to make sure that there's habitats in country where those reptiles and amphibians can live. And then if you buy an affiliate branded coffee, 5% of the proceeds go to USARC.
It's
So
awesome,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
This is so cool.
yeah.
What are we drinking here right now?
So you have a light roast and I have a medium roast. So that's the Cloud Forest blend, light Cloud Forest. You see what I did. And so that is a Rwanda, Colombian, and a Honduran coffee.
Oh wow.
Yep. And then I have a medium roast, which is our Rainforest blend. It's kind of our house medium roast. It's our most popular coffee, and it is a Brazil, Honduran, Colombian. Yeah.
I've heard both. Maybe you can tell me which is true or not.
Okay.
That a light roast will have more caffeine, and a darker roast will cook out more of the caffeine.
So it's an interesting thing. Yes and no. So it depends on the temperature when the coffee's roasted. So like if you get black is black, soot, burnt, dark roast, yes, it's true. But the caffeine molecule will not start to break down until 435, 440 degrees. We only roast at the max end of our roasts at about 435 degrees. So there might be some degradation on the back end, but our dark roasts are pretty dark, and they're not going to be highly less caffeinated
Gotcha.
than the light roast. But also the interesting thing is that it takes more of a dark roast to equate to the same weight of a light roast, because you're losing more moisture, right? So as you roast, more moisture is going out of the bean. So actually, if you're making your coffee by weight, you're going to get maybe slightly more caffeine, or about the same in a dark roast, because you're using more beans. So there's less
Gotcha.
caffeine per bean, but there's more beans per weight. So long story short, it works out to be about the same.
Gotcha. I am that nerd that weighs out my coffee
Yeah.
before I put it in the grinder to do a pour over.
So if you've ever noticed, if you get a darker, like, or even if you pick up our bag of coffee, so this is a darker roast. This bag is about chock full to the top of coffee. If you get a lighter roast, it's going to be a little less, and that's
more moisture per bean.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same weight. It's just that, like this, they're all 12 ounces. It's
So you
just,
should be weighing your beans. You shouldn't be doing scoops.
you should be
doing
weighing
weight.
your beans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Consistently, like if you want consistency in your coffee, weigh your beans.
I do. Maybe you can help me have a better experience. I just think it's cool how much coffee. Like I think a lot of people that drink coffee don't realize how many like different nuances are in coffee. Like I had these coffees that taste like herb, like floral teas.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah,
like coffees that are that dark, like robust, like.
Right.
But so what I do right now, for the most part, I will grind. I make sure my beans have been roasted like about 2 weeks out.
Yep.
And then I grind 27.4 grams
Okay. All right.
into a cup. I first pre-wet my filter in the
Okay.
Chemex.
Okay. I
And
was
then-
going to say you're doing a pour over. You're doing a Chemex.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
And then I put the Chemex on the scale. I put in the coffee just to make sure I didn't lose any grains when I'm dumping it in. It's still, whatever. I poured in twice the weight amount of water.
Yep.
Let it bloom for like 30 seconds or
yeah.
so.
You're dead on. Yep.
And then after it's bloomed, then I do the rest of the pour.
Yep.
And usually get about 10%, or the weight of the coffee ends up being about 10% of the weight of the actual drink that I poured. So I end up with about 270 grams of water, or to 300 grams of water.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great. It's kind of personal preference on the ratio. So like, I mean, the process is spot on. I think you grind. You have fresh coffee is a key. So anything more than a month, maybe max 2 months, 90 days old. 3 months maybe. You're going to start seeing a pretty steep decrease in the freshness,
bloom?
in the bloom,
Yeah.
and all that. So the bloom is just carbon dioxide releasing, right? So that's for those that don't know what he's talking about. If you brew fresh coffee and you pour hot water over coffee, there's going to be a carbon dioxide release, and it's going to look like a mushroom almost, right? And so we usually do that for 30 seconds to let that gas release so that it's not brewed into the coffee. So I think you're dead on there. I think that's the first, fresh coffee, grind fresh, 30-second bloom, finish your brew, total time, maybe 3 minutes, 30 seconds, somewhere in there. The ratio, it sounds like you like your coffee
To kick me in
to
the pants.
kick you in the pants. That's a pretty steep ratio. But I mean, that's personal preference.
Totally.
We usually do 1 to 15 or 1 to 16. I can't do the math in my head, but that seems like it's maybe like more like 1 to 12, 1 to 13 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it 1 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, you may have. My math is not spot on, but yeah. So that's a kick in the pants. But I mean, yeah. But you're right. I mean, coffee from different places. You can experiment with a lot of different things, different processing methods, different locations, different, like you can even get into co-fermenting or infusions or all kinds of stuff. to bring out all kinds of weird and funky flavors in your coffee, depending on what you want. If you want a black cup of chocolatey coffee, yeah, you can get that. Single origin Colombian will give you that. But I mean, there's peach co-ferments. I was talking to Corey who works with us at shows. They just did she works for another roaster, so that's pretty cool that we get a bunch of different perspectives. And so they did a eucalyptus co-ferment, which is an interesting choice. So all kinds of fun, funky stuff you can do depending on just how brave you want to be.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed some of the like bourbon barrel aged coffees.
Yeah.
Those are super good.
Yeah, we have the US Arc one that we do is a bourbon barrel aged coffee. It's fun. It's a unique take. You get a lot of those vanilla, caramel, boozy notes from the bourbon barrel. And we use a once used bourbon barrel, age it 30 days, green, and then roast it. And it's fun.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it's cool, man.
Yeah.
Trey, well, I think it's awesome what you're doing, man. It's really stoked, and especially since I've been much more. I didn't drink coffee growing up, so I
Yeah.
wasn't like. I didn't start drinking coffee till like actually just a few years ago, and just started nerding out on it.
I was about to say, you seem to have advanced pretty quickly. Yeah.
that's kind of one of my this.
Yeah.
When I get into something, I'm like, well, how far can we take this?
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we're gonna start a business. And originally, I didn't even mention it. Originally, we were gonna just private label. We were just gonna buy it from another roaster, slap a sticker on it, and we got into it and we were like, it's not what we wanted. Like we got some samples in, but the transparency of the sourcing wasn't there. The coffee was it was okay, and so we were like, nope, we're going all in. Just like you said with the equipment. Nope, I'm gonna drive this into the ground and to figure out how to do it. I was in the backyard. I bought my first roaster. It was just a home roaster. And it was in 2021 I bought it, or maybe late 2020, early 2021, in the backyard, roasting, 50 grams at a time in my backyard, playing around, learning how to do it every night, hour after hour, trying to figure it out. And now we have a, giant roaster and thriving business. And, it's been a fun ride. I very much appreciate, everything that Bob and Brian have done in allowing us to infiltrate NARBC and set up at all their shows. They've been nothing but welcoming from the start, and a lot of it wouldn't be possible without folks like them accepting the idea of the business. And I think there's opportunities for other businesses similarly that were thoughtful about it, that don't have to be directly related to breeding reptiles and amphibians, but like media, like what you're doing, and the artists and what they're doing. And I'm sure somebody else can come out with something that can help reptile and amphibian in captivity and in the wild, that can be successful vending reptile shows in that space. So I'm looking forward to what other people can come up with too.
Yeah, that's perfect, man.
Just not coffee.
It's just not good. Anything but coffee.
I'm the only coffee. No, just joking.
Awesome, man. Well, if people want to work with you, if people want to like do something like this,
Yep.
how can people reach out to you and
Yeah.
do that?
The easiest way is send us an email, info@coldbloodedcaffeine.com. Make sure caffeine is CAFFEINE. It's tricky. If you want to follow us on our social media, it's Cold Blooded Caffeine everywhere: Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, check us out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Trey. Appreciate your time, bro.
Absolutely, man.
Right
Thank
on,
you.
dude. Big thank you to Trey for coming and sitting down with us today. Follow the links down in the description to follow what he's doing. Maybe you can get your company logo or make a face, do a collaboration, get yourself on a coffee cup, coffee bag of beans, and do that. That would be really cool. Looking forward to what they see fueling us forward. This is great because I got a lot of interviews to do, and this is going to fuel me right through it. But thank you guys for watching. We'll have another interview right here on the Redline Report next week. Until then, y'all take care. Well, you just want to be able to hear something,
Yeah, you want it to know that it's at a show,
Yeah,
but also not like have somebody sound like they're talking right behind
Yeah,
your
well,
head.
what the issue was, I looked over and there were no audio waveformers whatsoever.
Oh,
so I was just
okay.
like, well,
Yeah. There
that
should be something.
There should be
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
We want to hear something, not just watch people like. So how did you decide that the reptile industry needs? You can't hear me, can you?
I can hear you. Yeah,
Well done.
thanks.
That's such good information. It's so well delivered. I love that. I love it. So good.
Well, it's easy when you're passionate about it. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
that became obvious 2 minutes in. I was like, oh, this guy's into this.
I like coffee.
Yeah.
and I think if you didn't, you would get burnt out. Like with anything, I mean, the day to day is not this. The day to day is not vending shows. The day to day is, I had 3 days between when I got back from Animal Con on Sunday to when I had to leave for Tinley, and it was roasting, 200 pounds of coffee. Plus, we also have a delivery service locally, so we deliver to hospitals and lawyers' offices and all kind of doctors' offices and stuff. So, like, if you see our van parked out there, it says coffee delivery service. That's because that's our day job. I mean, the e-commerce Cold Blooded Caffeine brand pays some of the bills, but we run a full roasting facility. Like, we have offices and stuff like that, and so we have to supplement that with our local delivery service. And so, like, we were running delivery routes last week while still getting ready for Tinley Park. So it's the passion that keeps you going.
Yeah.
the late nights and stuff. And
I hear it, man. I hear it. Same with the video world. I was like, I mean, it was last night. I went to dinner and then got back up to the hotel room. I
Yeah.
was just like editing from my bed, like keep my eyes open, like just upload thumbnail.
And gone. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I was emailing this morning. I was up at 5:30 emailing people this morning, trying to get stuff situated. Still trying to. Animal Con was great. We did that, and still trying to get connections done with that and getting ready for here. We're try to be the first ones in the lobby because we can get access to our booth faster than what the
Right,
main
'cause
lobby
you're
can do
outside.
because we're outside.
And you also
So-
are getting people coming to you
Yeah.
first.
So we want to be like brewing coffee as soon as we can. As soon as the outside doors open, we want to be in here brewing coffee. So we're always trying to be the first ones here, the last ones to leave, in case anybody wants a cup to go. So, but yeah, it's fun. It's been a fun ride. It's hard to believe it's only been 3 years, but it's been fun.
It's awesome, dude. Well, I look forward to a lot more of what you're doing.
We'll be here.
Yeah.
We'll be here.
That's
We're not
awesome.
going anywhere.
Love it.
Cool, man.
This is perfect.
All right.
Yeah, it's great, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you.